Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to introduce to you now. Dr. JoAnn McManamy is an incredibly inspiring person and has an amazing story of recovering her health through lifestyle change. Dr. JoAnn McManamy earned her bachelor's degree in communication from the University of Connecticut, an MBA in management, a master's degree in counseling and psychology, and a doctorate in education also from the University of Connecticut. Stunningly, JoAnn realized at age 65 that she had forgotten to live. After a lifetime of emotional eating, she transformed her 280-pound body to a slimmer 150 pounds, improved her health, and has found joy. Dr. McManamy is an informed patient and is thrilled to have turned her life around, reversing her type 2 diabetes, arthritis, and retinal bleeding by eating a low-carbohydrate diet. After a lifetime of overeating, she experienced the realization that led to good decision making, which then led to significant weight loss, good health, and a high quality of life. Now retired and about to turn 78 years young, JoAnn has now broken into the 140s in weight. Her cognition and stress have improved, and she feels wonderful and is ready to continue living her best life through her healthy lifestyle. Dr. JoAnn McManamy, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you to Boundless Body Radio.
Well, thank you, Casey. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, it's been long overdue. I see you at these conferences and get to visit with you. And like I told you off air, every time I see you in person, you're just a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller. How has it been to just improve your health overall? Like what is your experience at your age now versus, maybe 20 years ago?
I couldn't believe any of this is possible, but I, took it one step at a time. And now I'm working on the last step, which is to hire a trainer, and I'm in the gym, and I will go there right after this recording today and work on my muscles.
I love it. You make the personal trainer inside me very, very happy to hear that. So good for you for doing that. That's amazing. I do want to deep dive into your personal story, which, as we mentioned in the introduction, is very inspiring and fascinating. But before we do, I'm so glad I found this gem on your interview with Dr. Tony Hampton. You were on The Price is Right.
Yes, I was. It was
So
one of
cool.
my bucket list items, and I got out of my own way, controlling how I was going to be picked, and just cast it to the universe. And
Wow.
I got picked. They threw a whole lot of questions at me, and I could answer all of them because I've been listening to the to The Price is Right since 1956 with my late grandmother.
Wow, that's amazing. So what is the process like to get picked? When you're seeing it on TV, it looks like it's all like totally random. They're just calling somebody from the audience.
Oh, it's not random. It's not random. They register you. You have to sign your life away in the first, I'll call these pens. It's where you fill out all your information. You get your number, you get your name tag, and then you are released into the second pen, which is where you have an interview with the producer. And you've got about 25 seconds to capture his imagination to pick you. And I guess I did it this time. This was my fourth try, and because I really wanted to do this. And this time it clicked. And then they release you to the third pen, which is building enthusiasm. And I believe the cameras are on you the entire time. They look that you're going to be enthusiastic and that you really want it. And I got picked. I should have known because there were big clues once I hit the seating. Like woman said, take those glasses off your head because it affects the cameras. No, they just didn't want glasses on my head. And then she said, push your purse back under the seat more. That should have been a clue. Went over my head. And then I didn't hear anything. I saw the name card go up in this. You can't hear anything in that studio. So once they called me, I said, you got this. You got this. You know how to play this game. Tough part is being picked. So I was on contestants row with all the nice people, and right out of the get-go, I was on the stage. So.
Yeah, how did you do?
I did really well. Nobody else knew what designer purses cost. So I came, within $1,100 of the price. I didn't need to be exact. I just needed to win. So I won. got 3 purses, and got on the stage. And they gave me a very easy game. Is it this price or is it that? It's called double prices. And it was a trip to Switzerland. I just knew, what could I do it 4 times 4? And it came out almost to the dollar. So I picked the higher price and got a nice trip to Switzerland with my friend. And we didn't get it because of COVID until 2.5 years later. But we had a wonderful time, and got back home, and it was just a thrill to do that. Now I'm eligible in 5 years from November 5th to go back on the show. So
Excellent. I'll keep
yeah,
that in mind.
I'll make it out to California. Burbank is where they're taping now, so it will
Uh,
be a different place, but I'll be 82 then, and we'll see
no
if I'm
problem.
up for it.
Yeah,
So,
no problem. That's great. I'll make a note not to try to audition for the contest at that time because I know you'll smoke me. So I'll just
oh, I
avoid
will
that.
smoke you.
I
Yes.
know. I know. Once women get past like 55, 60, you really don't want to do anything competitive with them, like play cards or whatever. You all turn
Yeah.
into to sharks for sure. It occurs to me too that like I would only watch The Price is Right when I was sick. So when, every year during school, I'd be sick at least once or twice and I'd get to watch it then. And then my professional career training, I'd always get sick every single year. And so there'd be a day or two that I call in sick and I get to watch The Price is Right. And since going low carbohydrate, I have not been sick in like 6 or 7 years. So I don't ever get to watch The Price is Right anymore. That's one of the
Well,
downsides of a
you'll
low
have
carb
to do
diet.
it while you're well, and don't worry about it. And always be well. So,
Uh,
but I look at those pictures. I mean, that's me almost 30 pounds ago.
that's amazing. Wow. That's
Yeah, I
amazing.
look very different now.
Yeah, and it's funny too. I had to look this up just before our interview. You were on with Drew Carey, and we all know Drew Carey has lost a bunch of weight.
Oh,
And
yeah, he looks good now.
low carb. He did it low carb, and I
He did
just
it
had
the
to.
first time low carb, and then during COVID, he didn't look so good, but now he looks good
Oh,
again.
oh, awesome! Yeah, the last article I saw as I was looking it up, it was sometime in 2024, and it was like a low carb or a no carb type diet. He looks great, and it's funny if you've been in this world long enough, you can see not just weight loss, but the way people lose weight, and I could almost predict that that's exactly what he did. You can see, people that have lost a lot of weight, like yourself and him, like your neckline is different, your sides are different. It's not the same as like I lost 20 pounds doing Weight Watchers. The look is completely different. So you could
It
almost like
is.
predict it.
That's a very good observation. Yeah, because I was so glad to see him looking well again. He is the nicest person.
That makes me happy. That
Oh,
makes me
he
happy.
was so gracious to me. He helped me spin the wheel. Now, next time I go on, I'll be able to spin my wheel without him
Exactly.
because,
You got some muscle
you
now. That's
know,
great. Oh, I love it. Tell us a little bit about your professional career, and maybe we can tie into, what you did professionally with also with what was going on with your health to get to the spot that you got in.
well, I was overworking. I was a college professor who didn't know how to say no. And I took on too many classes and wore myself down. So those were not good decisions for me. I had no really good way of boundary setting and put myself first. I was pleasing everybody because, they just didn't have people to teach. And finally, I just had enough. I had a major heart event, and everything changed after that. There were different choices to make when I was 65 and had my heart episode almost 12 years ago.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So the first steps of my letting go of my career as a management professor um, was to just look at what's important.
Mm. So when you were growing up, was weight a thing back then? Like, is it something you were
Well,
always like conscious of?
I started getting heavy when I was about 11 to 12, and then I slimmed down in high school because my parents starved me to death.
Really?
Um, yeah, I had to get weighed before I was allowed to eat.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and it was that's where the addiction started. Um, and I would sneak food all the time. I was a full addict while I was a teenager, and when I get upset, I'd overeat. But that's when my parents weren't home. Um, and I just, went away to college, gained the freshman 15, kept that off for a couple of years. My father was always pleased with me when I lost weight, but I thought that was the only way I could get approval in my family. And in my immediate family, it was until my brothers figured it out. And then they just backed right off. It was just my parents. And it was a very difficult perception that I took on for my whole life. So I became an overachiever. I said, well, at least if I wasn't love, I could really achieve. So I spent pretty much my whole life in school, uh, earning all of these degrees. And I don't use some of them, but they were good discipline. I learned how to study. Um, I'm glad I have them, but I would have made different choices in my life.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, it's not important. But now I'm almost certified as a, a metabolic coach. And I just love learning. Let's just say that. I really do. And I have to teach myself a whole new discipline where I don't really have the wiring to absorb it, but I'm doing the best I can, and every year it gets easier in
That's
terms of
amazing.
what I understand at the conventions in I do about 4 a year, so
So cool.
I'm feeling really good about it now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember a quote. I'm going to paraphrase. I'm not going to get this right. And I don't even know exactly who to attribute it to. I think it was maybe James Clear who wrote the book Atomic Habits, where he said,
Yes.
in the beginning of your career, to be successful, you need to say yes. As your career advances, to be successful, you need to say no.
Yeah,
That sounds like a lesson that could have benefited you earlier on.
definitely could have benefited me. And I can quarterback that up, the day after quarterbacking all the time, but I now have boundaries.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
they finally got there. So,
Yeah, gotcha. Tell us about the heart event. What was your health status like? When was that? Um,
okay.
yeah, what
I
happened?
totally ignored everything. I ate a lot of junk food. I glycated myself. I inflamed myself. I oxidized myself. Totally oblivious. But in the back of my mind, I knew I had to eat low carb. And on the times I did eat low carb back there, because I learned about low carb when I was 18, before they started teaching bad nutrition in college.
You're kidding.
So seriously, I was 18 years old, took my first nutrition course at a women's college in Maryland, and where I didn't graduate from. Uh, and I knew all about this stuff. I didn't know about ketones, but I knew about low carb because I had an aunt that was a nurse, and she shared that information with me. And I also learned it from my professor at Hood College. And I am amazed at how quickly after, I would have been 25 in 1972, and that's when it all changed.
Wow. Was it almost like common knowledge? Did
I
everybody
don't
kind
know
of,
if it was common knowledge, but my aunt was a nurse anesthetist, and she shared that with me and my father. And we dropped weight really, really quickly. And but then I got talked out of it. You don't know, oh, but that's so bad for you. You need carbs. And that was the death now, really, almost for me, because I only went back to it a couple of times as a more mature adult. In 280, excuse me, I was 280 pounds when I took a student group to China, and I was so humiliated being that size, and so many of the Chinese would point at me, stare at me, and tell me
oh
I
my
was
goodness.
fat. They would go.
Wow.
I was reduced to tears almost every day.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
different culture over there, a lot more direct.
oh, perfectly lovely people, but oh my God. And it was a really hard trip for me. Then I came back and had to have my gallbladder out. So that started some healing. I got some weight off at that point, probably about 30 pounds, and kept it off. So I'm now down to 250. And until I checked into the hospital, I think it was 230. When I got to Florida, I had lost, 50 pounds, and then I had the heart event. And then my daughter and her husband descended on me and read me the riot act that I had to start taking care of myself, and I had to choose whether I was going to live or not.
Yeah.
And
So what was the heart event? What actually happened?
I had a blocked atrial stenosis, which, I mean, I really could have died at any moment. And then they found and triple bypass. So I had that surgery in October of 12. And that's my new birthday, October 9th. It's another birthday. So, and I healed up very quickly. The only consequence is you're tired. The knitting of the bones back together, that was nothing. There's nothing. It was just a really easy recovery. And my daughter would drag me walking. And you can't drive for a month, so I was at her mercy. So, but she was really good. She'll be listening to this. She really, really
Oh,
helped me a
great.
lot
Oh, that's
by,
great.
getting my priorities straight.
Mm.
And then I was diagnosed with diabetes in 2 years later. And I had an A1C of 9.6,
Wow.
and within 2 months, it came down to 6.9, the reciprocal. So, and that was on metformin and a little glipizide. And by the summer of 17, I was off all medication and had hit a weight of 175. I mean, there's nothing like going down and down and down and down in weight. And when I crossed into the 100s, it took me at least 2 years to say my weight began with 1. And now, of course, it does. But
Yeah.
and then I reached the 150s by once I got into 150s, I bought myself a new car.
That's
So
good.
the car is almost 4 years old. I've finally broken out of the 150s into the 140s on the last day of August.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. Take us back
Yeah.
to the moment where you mentioned you had the heart event and you had to decide whether you wanted to live. What was that moment like, and how
And
difficult was that decision?
I realized I'd been committing suicide for the last 20 years.
Wow.
I owned it, and I totally surrendered in the hospital. I had fortunately a good surgeon, and I surrendered to everything. I let every clergy person into my room to pray with me. I figured I needed all the help I could get. And we put the word out through a lot of associations for people to pray for me. And they obviously did, because I woke up, my daughter's right in my face in the ICU and say, "You're alive. You lived." And it was, and I just felt such relief at that point because I wasn't in any pain
Mm,
and I could breathe. Oh, I could breathe. I didn't realize how little oxygen I was probably getting for the last 2 years because I wouldn't see a doctor. Now I don't hesitate. I don't do that anymore.
mm.
But I
Oh,
had to start taking care of myself.
yeah.
And it is just on the encouraging side, it is not too late to do that. And then you'll have some regret that you didn't get smarter earlier. So, yeah,
Wow.
kind
That's
of
amazing.
conflicting feelings, but my life is so good now, and the rest of it is going to be fine. Um, I work on keeping my cognition, because I noticed a little slippage on the memory, but it's like, oh, who sang that rock and roll song from the 60s?
It's pretty
Oh,
good.
oh, it was Tommy James and the Shondells, That was that's what I forgot this morning. So I mean, it's just I can live with that. But just keeping learning and moving. And one of the exercises I do now is try to, dance is the wrong word, but strut like Mick Jagger.
I love it.
He basically moves like a chicken. And if you look at some of his clothes, it's coordinating what he's doing on my little TikTok thing. You write it out and then I try to do it.
I love
And
it.
the two, combining the two, the cognitive and the actually muscle memory, I can do about 6 songs and I have a good time and I'm laughing and just totally enjoying it. And so
Ah,
that's kind of a new behavior, as well as going to the gym, which I have a 1 o'clock appointment with my trainer today, and he's phenomenal. So
that's great. I love
yeah,
that. That's amazing. Yeah, the movement piece. We thought for so many years that the movement piece was only good for the physical body, and we've learned so much now that how important movement is for the brain and for cognition, and
the
dancing in
brain.
particular is so important. So
Again,
it's cool that you're
yeah,
working that in. I love that.
it's either that or learn to play a musical instrument or a language
Yep.
that engage that cognitive part of the brain. So who knows what I'll be working on after I feel I've mastered Mick.
I love
Uh,
it. I love it. Oh, that's fantastic. And I do have to say, I really respect the decision to really cover your bases with all the different clergy of all the different religions when you were praying. Just get them all covered. Whoever's right or wrong, just get them all in there. It's a really good
just
play. Yeah, smart.
again, it was everybody but a Catholic priest that came in.
Great.
Uh,
Good for
so
you.
that was very helpful, but that helped me to surrender. I mean, did I have a choice that I had to have heart surgery? No.
Mm, yeah.
And I did it, and I have the nice zipper down my chest.
Mm,
Uh, and I show it off sometimes because it's a badge of
excellent.
honor.
You should. Yeah.
And but I can't tell you how good it feels. I can move.
Like Jagger.
I can move like Jagger. And
Excellent.
I uh, hey, Mick, I'm ready to dance with you.
There we go.
So,
Exactly. You heard it
okay.
here first.
Send it out to the universe. That's my last
Exactly. I
bucket list
love
item.
it. I
So,
love it. Dancing with Mick Jagger. That's a good one. I love it.
hey,
Okay, so you mentioned the diagnoses of type 2 diabetes and an A1C that was quite high. And you mentioned that
yes,
it went from 9.6 to 6.9.
in
How,
2 months.
in 2 months? So that's great. Was that just the medication or had you already kind of
That was
changed?
no, I put low carb back in. I always, but not to the degree that I am now. Um, and I wasn't told anything at that doctor's office. It just, well, you have type 2, this is what you're going to take. And I didn't even know how to get a meter or anything. So I called a neighbor, and she came over, she told me what to buy. She taught me how to use it. And there I went from there. And now I have a continuous glucose monitor on because earlier this year a few pounds crept back on and I said, you got to do something. That was the end of January. And I've got 17 pounds off since that day this
Amazing.
year. And my A1C is a 5.4.
Wow,
So
it's
yeah.
amazing.
So
CGMs are such a powerful tool.
well, they're not always accurate. Sometimes I have to send a lot back to Abbott, but they're good at replacing them. But
Yeah,
all the parts don't fit in the box they send you to send it back, so I'm always in
gotcha.
trouble.
Oh,
But
interesting.
but
Gotcha.
it's
So this decision to go low carb, when you decided to do that, was not nobody taught you how to do that. It was just like remembering that you learned about this several
I
decades
remember
earlier.
I learned about it, and but at that time I had joined a diabetes group. It was called the A1C group. It was how to predict what your A1C is going to be. The group had no emphasis on food, but we had a visitor one day, and he's a chiropractor, John Podlowski, and he said, I can get all of you off medications, of the type 2s, all of you off medications. It was a very expensive summer, but he was good. I went from, I think, 200 to 175 pounds, 25 pounds from the end of May to the middle of August. And all my medication was gone, and it's never come back.
That's incredible. I see other people losing weight or temporarily getting, off of a medication or reducing a medication, although that's a little bit more rare when they do a more conventional, like calorie restricted diet. Like, yes, you can lose weight, but there's also going to be that rebound where you're going to lose 20 and then gain 30. This is the only way of eating that I've ever noticed that people, yeah, you can lose a bunch of weight, but it's really easy to maintain. And if you gain, it's maybe like you described like earlier this year, like maybe you slip up a little bit and it goes up by a few pounds, but you can knock that right back down really easily, and it's only just a few pounds. It's not like you're rebounding back up to
Oh,
280 and
no,
beyond. You
no,
get the weight down and it resets, and you get the weight down and resets, and even if
and
it's,
it resets, and
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
and I'm hoping to get down to 140, only because it's half of what I used to be. But
So
I'm
cool.
really quite comfortable in my size 10s now versus size 4X.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so as you're doing this, the chiropractor is helping you with
Oh my God,
diet.
he helped an amazing way. You know, he would be checking everything. That's when I learned about insulin, fasting insulin. Now, when I started with him, my fasting insulin was high, and now it's in normal ranges. My inflammatory markers are good, but I knew nothing about that, and I knew nothing about ketones. And he explained ketones to me and being ketogenic, and wow. So now I'm always, I check my ketone level at least twice a week, and um my fasting insulin, and I've been coming in ketosis every time I checked. So, and I intermittent fast. I mean, I fast about 18 hours a day. I don't want to go to the point where I'm hungry or my blood sugar really runs low. So I kind of limit myself maybe to 24 hours at most
Wow.
of
Yeah.
the intermittent fasting.
Wow. What
I'd
what do
like
you
to do more, but
yeah. That's pretty great. What do you say to people when they say keto's a fad diet?
oh my God, just, you know what? I don't try to convert anybody that doesn't want to be
Good
converted
for you.
anymore. That was my mistake. That's wasting my time. And you
Yeah.
know,
Well, you mentioned before you were eating a lot of junk food, a lot of processed food.
yeah, McDonald's,
Yeah,
French fries,
yeah, got it.
um,
Certainly.
sandwiches mostly.
Okay, and it was probably better food quality then than it is now. It only seems to get worse and worse over time. But you also mentioned kind of a bit of an addictive personality. I think I've got that as well, especially as it
Yeah.
pertains to sugar. Was it terribly difficult for you when you were learning about this stuff to change over your diet and get rid of some of the processed foods? Like, what did your diet look like, and how difficult was that to switch? Because it's not that easy to step away from some of those at the time really delicious sounding foods.
Well, I don't find them delicious anymore.
Not anymore. No.
No, I just don't. They just taste, ugh. I do have minimally processed foods in my house. For example, I could make my own mayonnaise, but I buy Chosen with avocado oil, and I don't use that much of it. I occasionally like a piece of bread, so I'd buy base culture, um, keep it in the freezer. It's going to London with me on Monday, um, because I need something to eat for breakfast, and it's basically a vehicle for my poached eggs.
Lovely.
So, yeah, so I do a couple of things, but that's basically it. It's uh, and I always take my salad dressings if I go out to dinner. I mean, that's a minefield for me. Um, I went out to dinner once in San Diego. The food was awful,
Ugh.
and it was at that place everybody recommends, pretty much next to the hotel.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I got to have lunch with uh, A- Andrea, um, and that was the best part because she's lovely. But the food was like overcooked. I can't stand overcooked meat. It was
Uh,
so I
that's
brought
too bad.
basically my own food, made sure there was a refrigerator in my hotel room.
Yeah.
And uh, yeah, I I did well.
Yeah. Good.
I'll do a lot of the same when I'm in London, but I have searched out all the non-seed oil restaurants.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
and I
Good for
found,
you. Yeah. My carry-on bag is always full of eggs and a stick of butter, and I always get stopped at TSA. They always stop me to take a look at it. And I had really mixed results trying to find food. It was only the very last day that I found a place that was able to give me uh, perfectly medium kind of burger patties for like $5 a piece. The night before, I ordered two burger patties and it was like $40, and I was still hungry at the end of the meal. I know, so it was really hit and miss down there. I'm really surprised. Like Austin, when I was in Hack Your Health, like I couldn't find where I was staying. Like I couldn't find any Mexican joint to just sell me meat by the pound. It was a challenge to travel. So I think you've learned what I've learned. It's nice to carry your own stuff so you know
yeah.
exactly what's in it. You know it's tasty. It's going to keep you full and satiated for a long time. It's a good strategy.
It is, and I take some tuna fish in the packets where you just rip them open for extra protein for breakfast because I'm going into a hotel and they look out for me. Uh, but it's a continental breakfast and they allowed me to have the add-ons from the kitchen. They'll
Well,
bring out the really good yogurt for me. I don't eat a lot of dairy, but and I'll have some strawberries while I'm over there because they're nice. Or I'll just pick up some salmon across the street in the grocery store. So there are so many ways to eat okay in London when I'm there. So that's not a big worry.
that's great.
Uh,
I think
no,
a
it's
big
not.
tip there is to like plan ahead like you are. Like
You
that's
have
really
to.
great. Yeah.
You have to because you're like a lion with the Christians. So, they're gonna get you,
Yeah.
but there are so many restaurants that I've been going there for 24 years constantly that I've really checked out
Yeah.
in the last 5 years.
That's great.
And yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so you mentioned always needing something to kind of be learning and having, I got super obsessed with this stuff when I learned about it, and it's just like all I think about all day. Sounds
Hmm.
like the same kind of happened to you. So as you were fixing your own health and noticing all these amazing things, how did this become something that you wanted to learn more about, and how did you go about doing that? Like, did you read books? Was it like podcasts you're listening to? Like, how were you able to learn as much as you know now? You mentioned
Well,
going to these conferences and you know what people are talking about. Like, it certainly looks like you're hanging with everybody else. So, yeah, how did
well,
you start to learn about it?
it's when COVID struck. Okay, I just got out of London on one of the last planes out. And I got home and everything shut down a couple of days after I got back to Florida. And I had started to listen to a couple podcasts. And I think I was only listening to Dr. Mark Hyman. And one thing leads to another with the podcast. You get an exciting guest, and then you want to kind of maybe jump to another podcast. So somehow I got on Low Carb MD and I started listening to those two. Frickin' frack, I called them at the beginning. And I just kept listening to them. And um, they talked about how to keep yourself strong during COVID. Okay, and then Ivor Cummings gets in this, and a few more other people that I totally respect and learn to respect. And I said, gee, these two guys are good doctors. I hope, uh, and then Tro said he was getting licensing out of state. So I emailed his office and I got back this nice response and said, later this month, we're going to have Florida certification.
Great timing.
I just signed myself right up and I started seeing Tro in 21. And I've been with him ever since, and I'm not leaving until they take me out in a pine box. And I'm so lucky. I am
He's
so
amazing.
lucky. He is so amazing. He goes down every rabbit hole of my health. So we check everything out. And I talked to him last week, and it's all good. So, and I just keep getting better and better. And one day I'll drop dead, but I'm going to live until then.
Yeah, I don't think that's coming anytime soon by the
I
looks of
hope
it. You
not, because
so
I've,
much energy.
I've not ever felt this good. I didn't know at 40 I could feel this good. I just don't get in my own way anymore. I can move, I'm comfortable, I can walk long distances without my heart rate going crazy. But that's all new. That's since the PT and now trainer. So I've got better lung capacity. I've lost a year on my age, according to my Aura ring. This morning I woke up 4 years younger than I was. I was 3 until yesterday. So,
The case of Benjamin Button just reversing your aging, going
oh, just,
backwards.
what, but that's fine. It's just so good. And I don't get bothered by things. It's just everything rolls off me almost, except when I talk to some customer service representatives. That still challenges me,
Yeah,
but
gotcha.
all is
That might
well.
always be challenging. So what would you say to somebody who is in your spot? Because a lot of people might have that health scare at the time that you did, mid
Yeah.
60s, and they might have a different answer than you did. And I know part of what you're trying to do now is to help inspire other people to improve their health. And you've already mentioned in this conversation, like it's never too late. But what would you want to tell somebody who is in that spot where you were about how the journey seems so long, but you forget that every little step it gets better and better and better
It's
as you go.
It's if they're open-minded, and one has to be open-minded. Uh, if they're not a doom and gloom person, I probably could work with them. And I would tell them, what is the one thing you can do today? What is the one pillar of health that you can work on? And then I go over the pillars of health. And then I get a lot of pushback. Oh, I can't eat sugar anymore? That's too hard. And maybe you don't start with the diet with that person, just getting sleep, stress. Stress is probably the toughest one to deal with in terms of my experience. I don't want to project that onto others, but you know, I looked at the food first and got that all cleaned up and the weight loss, and then worked on the sleep, then the stress. Sometimes that's a little bit uncontrollable. I have to work on my perceptions of things a little better. But this last one of the physical activity, I can't tell you. I wish I started that earlier.
Mhm. Yeah,
It is amazing, even at my age. And I thank Tro for that, because he noticed I was weak. And when I was having an in-office meeting with him a year ago, and he said, we're going to get you some physical therapy. And it's worked out.
yeah, that's amazing. Did you have any trepidation when, Tro mentioned that you had to do some physical therapy that would involve some resistance training of some kind? Like, was that challenging for you to kind of wrap your brain around?
No, we just started with the 1 pound weights.
Mm.
We started with the red bands. Uh, and and what I know now that I have a trainer, he'll write things out. And I said, Zach, I don't understand that. Let's put that in little language that has the process in it. I said, don't write that, abductor, adductor, boom, 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 bridges. I don't understand that. Just write big blue ball. Just write pink band, and we're going to see how well I remembered everything right after my chat with you. And I think I've got 8 out of the 10, because I showed up at the gym Tuesday, and I was able to work out. And then this appointment came up today, because I wasn't supposed to see him until October, but I'm going to get all that sorted this afternoon, and then we can move on to the other parts of my body that need a total workout, and then we'll have a really good plan for at least till the rest of the year,
Oh, that's
because
great.
I've committed myself. I've put the San Diego money into training.
Gotcha.
So
How
yeah,
often do you see your trainer?
I will be seeing him every other week.
Every other week. I don't think many people appreciate that you can hire a trainer and not have to go super frequently. We're not here to hold everybody's hand through every session all the time, unless that's something you want. Like I've got plenty of people that work with me 3 and 4 days a week, and they have for years, and we develop an amazing relationship, and they're dear friends of mine, and they prefer that. They've got the means, they pay for it. So it's great, and I love that. But also, I would want somebody to understand that you can hire a trainer very infrequently to help you develop a plan that you can then go and do on your own. But a trainer is going to help teach you what exercises to do. You should always be able to ask them why you're doing a particular exercise. We're going to show you how to be safe with it. And we're going to
Hmm.
make sure that you can go off and do this on your own, so that then the cost of what you have to pay for a trainer, it's really pretty low at the end of the day. Like it's not prohibitive for plenty of people out there.
No, it's for a middle income person, this is fine. I just need to make choices about my health. So is it a conference or is it a trainer? So it's going to be the trainer.
Nice.
And he's excellent, and I don't know, he's really good, but I have to communicate that I can understand it once it's written on the green paper. So,
That's
and
great. And
that's,
I
yeah.
love asking clients this question. Describe the relationship that you're developing with your trainer. Again, I think there's a lot of stigma around personal training, but how have you found just getting to know your trainer and working with him? How has the personal relationship developed?
Oh, he's very good. He's also a carnivore, and we just totally appreciate each other. I'm been carnivore for the last 2 weeks, and we'll go off being carnivore once I get on that plane in Miami on Monday night. So
Well, that's great. Well,
yeah,
hello, Zach. I hope you're listening, and it's great to meet a fellow carnivore out there. What has been your experience? And is this the first time you've ever tried a carnivore diet for a few weeks, or do you have experience kind
yeah,
of
I
transitioning in and
committed
out?
to it. Uh, I just said I need to do this, and I have such, oh my God, I love meat. I'm having turkey today for lunch after I get back from training. So, um, uh, yeah, I've done the fish and the poultry and lamb. I love lamb, and there are ribeyes in the freezer that
Yeah.
I give myself a ribeye once a week.
Love it. Oh, that's great. Has the transition been difficult for you? Are you planning on going back to carnivore when you return?
I'll assess that when we come back from London. I will have enough beef over there. Um, I'm having lunch with Jackie Fletcher, so
Ah,
she will pick a great place, and
she's great.
she's fabulous. I can't wait to see her.
Yep.
And so yeah, I'll assess that as I'm uh taking my flight back to see what I'm going to come back to. There'll be plenty of meat, and I'll go out and get my eggs. And yeah, like this morning I had 4 eggs
Lovely.
scrambled in butter
Yum.
and nothing else. And then yeah, no, that
Yum.
was good.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's a great way to say it. Jackie is fabulous, host of the Fabulously Keto podcast. She
Fabulous
is
keto.
fabulous. Yes, that's
Yes,
wonderful
she
that you get
is.
to hang out with her. Tell her hi for me for sure.
Uh,
And that's another thing I wish people would know about carnivores. Like when you are trying a carnivore, you're not a carnivore diet, excuse me. You're not saying that this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life and you're never going to eat a plant ever again. It's something that you can try, and you can try it as you describe your lunch. Like you can try a meal that's a carnivore meal and see if you like it. Try some eggs, mix more eggs up than you think you can eat, and have it with a little bit of butter and see what that's like. If you feel
oh,
really full and satiated and you can go a long time and you're not snacking,
absolutely.
you can repeat it. Try it another meal and another meal. And if it feels good, you can keep going, but you don't have to lock yourself in. I love the way
No,
that you said, I'm going to reassess when I get back and we'll decide. It's not you saying, oh, I have to do this for the rest of my life. It's you're going to
no.
reassess. Yeah.
No, and it's I what I love about it, it's so easy, you know.
Yeah.
Just keep your refrigerator stocked. I stayed away from the dairy pretty much. But I'll probably put that in because, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
put that in. England
Mm.
has great cheeses.
Oh,
So,
beautiful. Great.
yeah, so, I'll do the best I can in London and, but yeah, you have to plan.
Yep.
You have to tell yourself you're worth it.
I love that.
You're
Yeah.
worth it. If you have, I just know how I get off the rails if I have a thoughtless carbohydrate like a tablespoon of honey.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah,
Totally understand.
I'm not likely to eat a processed cake or anything like that.
Yeah.
Those days are, I think, done.
Well,
But
it's like you said earlier, like the foods really legitimately do not taste good anymore. You can taste not only is the sugar way too much and it's way too sweet, but also
it's
so many people describe,
artificial.
yeah, it tastes like chemicals now.
Yes, it does.
Ugh.
And uh, I used to be a great diet soda drinker. I still have some in the house. Uh, and rarely do I want it, and then I have it, and it's one, and it's maybe 3 months later I'll have another.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
everything feels better when you eat natural foods. And let's just extend that a little bit. Like if I have a salad, it's not going to kill me.
Yep.
I can load it with good things as long as I bring my own salad dressing.
Love that.
And that's not a problem for me.
Love that. I did want to ask you about this. What has your experience been like working with Dr. Tro after working with other medical professionals in a more standardized kind of a practice? What was the difference between, how were you working with doctors before versus working with Tro?
Well, he's the best.
He's pretty
I have a
great.
lot of time with him. He knows me. He listens to me. He doesn't ever think I'm crazy. Um, it's a great relationship. And I have good relationships with two of my doctors at U Florida too. Um, my cardiologist is an engineer. I listened to Ivor Cummings. I got an engineer this time, and he's excellent, and he's one of my most sensitive doctors. And the fact, well, Tro and my cardiologist are my most sensitive, and they're men, which is even a higher compliment from me. They're just absolutely lovely. And I have a very good hematologist who I really don't need too much anymore because the blood stuff has cleared up. And then I have an endocrinologist here in where I live, and he's good, but I think he could be great. And he and Tro have a plan for my um, osteoporosis, which I've been diagnosed with. Uh, and we're just going to be doing the weights. I have a weight vest. I do a farmer carry. We're going to build that bone back up, and anything is possible.
Yeah, that's amazing. More people need to know that about strength training. It's not just about muscles. You can start at any age, and it's going to really help your bones and joints. It's
And
so critical.
and that's important because falls kill most old people.
Yep.
So we got to make me strong for that. And I do that on my own because, it's very easy. You put the 8-pound vest on in the morning, or, I don't walk with it every day, but it really it adds weight. And
You know what we should do? We should get you a 135-pound vest to remind you what it was like to move around when you were 280 pounds. See what that feels like.
oh, I don't think I'd be able to move.
Would-
But that's a good idea. You just carry in a gallon of water or something, and wow,
Yeah,
I can do all that stuff. I can take in a pallet of water now. I can do
love it.
all of that.
Love it.
But I couldn't before.
And you're,
When I was living in the Boston area, I had to have my groceries delivered. Um, Now I wouldn't think of that.
yeah, that's amazing. I wanted to make sure also that we talked about your coaching. What you decided that this message was so important that you wanted to share it with others and you wanted to do it the right way and get certified. So tell us about that certification. What has the process been like? Yeah, how have you found it?
Um, it's with Nutrition Network, and I've done all the courses that is required for the SHMP, I've done that. I'm just getting the last of the credits in, but I really enjoy the conferences because you get points for the conferences. And I tried to be a very much a perfectionist, showing that I understood absolutely everything. Okay, we're not going to understand certain people. And the best thing is I can show I've got some kind of context to the whole thing. So it took me a while to get those written up. But I did a good job on that. And now we just have to finish up the grand rounds.
Wow.
And that those are fun. I like to
Uh,
be on them live. That's not always possible, but I should be finished up by the end of the year.
That's
So
amazing. Good for you. What are the
yeah.
grand rounds? I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, yeah, that's something they do it's usually on a Saturday afternoon. But they store them, and if you're a member of the HMSP, I can never get those letters right. You can access them for free. So
Gotcha. Yeah, we can't
yeah, so
recommend we can't recommend them enough. They do such amazing work.
yeah, they do. They do. And it's I'd like to be involved with it as soon as I finish the certification because
Amazing.
I'd like to really do some research.
That's amazing.
And I made the contacts out in San Diego to hopefully do that.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. Good for you.
so
What is your vision of the future as far as helping other people? What do you think that will look like for you?
oh, I just hope I get a chance to really do it. I don't know what that's going to look like. Do I go work with a doctor? I've got a couple of offers. Um, uh, but I think I'd like to do it more on my own because I'm fiercely independent and don't take orders well from anybody. So, I'm, you know,
Yeah.
so I think once word of mouth gets around where I live, because I always give snippets at the table and I get people who say, well, your science. What do you mean? It's science. It's, boom, boom, boom. So you want to eat your adulterated food, go right ahead. We have a breakfast at Starbucks and, none of that is food. Uh, the coffee's okay, but
Coffee's okay.
coffee's fine. I always have my coffee, but there's a lot of disease in my age. And I just said, get off that sugar and
Yep.
just get off that sugar to start. Oh, it's too hard, and it's how do you overcome that resistance? I don't know. I
It's
think they
tough.
have to be scared. And
Yeah.
I thought last year's San Diego was marvelous with the emphasis on cancer.
That was.
Learned so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
was amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, no, it sucks, but I think you're right. I think with most people, they need to have, that 2x4 across the face because they're ignoring all the warning signs that are getting up to that point, and it might take something a lot stronger to tell you that you need to change. And it's going to be tough in the beginning, but you can make the change, and it will get
yep.
better over time.
But that's what happened to me. I got hit over the head with a frying pan
Yep.
because I wasn't paying attention to the subtleties.
Wow.
I could have
Well,
nipped this probably 10 years earlier.
well, again, yes, that's right, but also you did it.
Everything,
You still
yeah,
did it, and here
I
you are
still did it. And
thriving.
everything, yep. And it was the right time for me to start paying attention.
Traveling around your favorite place, London, and getting strong and dancing like Mick Jagger. Like it's just a wonderful story. You're such an asset to our community, our low carb community, and
Well,
the
thank
more we get
you.
your message out, I think it's so powerful. And you're just a wonderful human, and your story is incredible. And you're going to make an amazing coach with your teaching background and all the time you spend in school. I know how hard you're going to hit the books and the wealth of information you're going to be. And more than that, I think you're going to be a really inspiring person out there. So just keep at it. It
I
just,
will.
I know. I don't know. I know that I don't need to tell you that you were going to do that anyway, which is great. Don't want to make you late for your personal training appointment. So we'll
No,
end the
I still have
conversation
an
with,
hour and it's just basically walking across the street.
oh, nice. Well, you got a
Yeah.
little extra time to go on a bit of an extra walk if you like.
Yes. Well,
uh,
Casey, this is wonderful.
this has been so much fun, JoAnn. Where would you like people go to find you and connect with you?
On Facebook or Instagram. And it's Facebook is just my name, JoAnn McManamy, and on Instagram it's Dr. McManamy.
Excellent.
So I would
Yeah.
love to hear from anybody. And I'm not a big present on X because I don't want to get into politics.
Oh, it's so you're not missing anything. We're in an election cycle right now. Like even the people in nutrition are all posting political stuff. You're not missing anything. Don't start now. Let me tell you.
No,
Not the best
politics
time.
is not it much.
Yeah.
No.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. No, that's fine. Just hang out on Facebook and Instagram. That is great. We'll be sure to link all that. And anybody who is listening, I would really, really, really encourage you also to go to YouTube where we're going to publish this video because you probably listened and heard a woman who did not sound like she was 77, almost about to turn 78. Like the way you talk with so much energy and passion, you definitely don't sound like your age. And so I would encourage anybody to go to YouTube to actually see you and how healthy you are and how much energy. And yeah, it's just so wonderful and inspiring. JoAnn McManamy, thank you so very much for
Oh,
taking the
Casey,
time to be
thank
on this show.
you.
Such a joy. Can't wait to see you at another conference coming up soon.
It will happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Thanks for taking the time to
Okay.
be on our show. And this has been another
Bye-bye.
episode of Boundless Body Radio.